Hello, everybody. I'm Matthew Burke.
And I'm Jennifer Burke.
Welcome to the BURKE Brigade, brought to you by
The Liberty Daily, your conservative alternative to the Drudge Report.
Visit The Liberty Daily at thelibertydaily.com. Okay, what a freaking day, huh?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Absolutely insane. So, we do late at night here because we give you the news to start your evening or end your evening and give you a preview of what other podcasts and talk shows are going to be talking about tomorrow so that you can just tune into the BURKE Brigade. Okay, so starting off here, here's a bit of uplifting news in this crazy world that we live in. Would you like to take the ball and run with this one, my dear?
Sure, hon. So, a year ago, it's been over a year, it's hard to believe, but I guess football season is almost upon us, so it makes sense. Since Colin Kaepernick, again, the half-white, half-black failed NFL quarterback who was adopted by an affluent white family, raised in an affluent white neighborhood, went to an affluent white high school, was coached by a white coach in college who helped him, in high school, who helped him get a scholarship to UNLV because no one wanted him for football, they wanted him for baseball. So he put together a highlight reel tape and helped him get a scholarship. And if it weren't for all that, he would have never made it to the NFL to have the one good season that he had. But, you like that intro?
Is that the good news?
But after all that, Colin Kaepernick started dating this Muslim black chick, and all of a sudden he was soul brother for the 1970s with a big afro and the Black Panther pride hand up in the air, hating on America, calling America racist. I will not stand for a flag that oppresses people, and helped lead the NFL to
declining
ratings.
The number one reason.
As many people followed suit. So this year, we've had, sadly, Marshawn Lynch, former Seahawk, now with the Raiders, follow suit, but he said he's never stood for the pledge. For the national anthem. Why, I don't know.
I don't know.
You have Michael Bennett. I know, right? You have Michael Bennett from the Seahawks saying he's not going to stand. But
they're not all America-hating communists in the NFL.
They're not all America.
There's one NFL quarterback who is a good, God-fearing, red-blooded America.
Right.
What's his name?
Who happens to be black. Dak
Is he black? You mean he's not being discriminated against? Why is that? Because
right?
he can freaking play football.
He doesn't view getting paid millions to play football as slavery like some of these idiots are claiming it is. But, of course, he was asked, since it's the start of the football season, about
flag sitter.
Flag sitters, and this is what he said. He said, it's bigger than some of us think. It's just important for me to go out there, hand over my heart, represent our country, and just be thankful and not take anything I've been given and my freedom for granted. Amen, brother.
Yes.
Amen. Jerry Jones, the owner, and a lot of people have said, Jerry Jones have threatened his players, to stand, have told them they better stand. But players have said no, he did not threaten them.
He just
let his feelings be known. And much like, I guess, Jim Brown, who you talked about yesterday, it must have weighed heavily on them because you don't have them sitting. Jerry Jones told 105.3, I just feel strongly that the act of recognizing the flag is a salute to our country and all the people that have sacrificed so that we can have the liberties that we have. I feel very strongly that everyone should save that moment for the recognition of the flag in a positive way. So I like the way the Cowboys do it. Why? It's
Amen, brother.
The expectation nowadays is that if you're black, you're an America hater, much like the Antifa communists who are chanting No USA.
Right.
So good for Dak Prescott. I knew there was a reason. You know what? I grew up in Houston.
I like that guy from the beginning.
You guys know that. I grew up during the Bum Phillips, Earl Campbell, Love You Blue era. Love You Blue.
God, I'm old enough to remember Dan Pastorini.
I remember Dan Pastorini.
Remember Billy White Shoes Johnson?
I got Billy White Shoe's signature when I was in elementary school.
God,
he
he
came
was
to
so
my
good.
elementary school.
Especially
but
returning
anyway,
kicks and
so I
punts.
remember looking. You guys remember the Sears wish book that would come out at Christmas? So my brother and I would always look through it, and we were always so angry and upset, even during the Love You Blue era when there was no Houston Oilers stuff. But
Right.
even though the Cowboys were not very good at the time during the Love You Blue era, there were always stuff for quote-unquote America's team. And although I had respect for some of the players and the coach,
And
Tom
Tom
Landry, with the Cowboys, it was just, I just was never a Cowboys fan.
Well, you grew up in Houston.
I
so
grew up in Houston.
that
But
makes
you know
sense.
what? I've rooted for Dak Prescott because he's always seemed like a
Good guy.
level-headed, good guy. And he's shown that
Good
he's
player.
also not only a good football player, but a good American.
Good American. Loves America. And plays on America's team. I can say that even though we're not Dallas fans per se. But I freaking love to hear that. So, take that, Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick. All right. Now, some more good news. Finally, you had a Democrat call out the communist violent hate group Antifa, whatever the hell they are.
Yeah, however the hell you say
the
it.
group that masquerades as fighting against hate as they bash people's head in, but that's not hateful at all. And they
Peace through violence.
Yeah, and they masquerade as hating fascism because fascism isn't good enough for them. What they want is communism. That's why you see them call themselves Marxists, even though the media won't. And you see
the
them
media
doing
calls them patriots.
yeah, Marxist chants. But there was a major turn today when Democrat House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi, she got over it and finally came out and gave really a surprisingly strong statement condemning the
Let's
violence.
see how long the statement lasts.
Well, it is in writing, which isn't as powerful, but what do you expect?
So
For
someone
her,
wrote
it's
it
pretty
for
darn
her.
good. And it's one of these things. She does it late at night here, and is she going to be interviewed about it on CNN?
Doubtful.
Are they going to obsess over it? Are they going to have panel discussions after panel discussions? Probably
Are they going
not.
to change their description
Very-
of Antifa from peaceful protesters? Doubtful.
Yeah, very, very doubtful. But, you try to be objective. We try to be objective. We try to be objective with Donald Trump. We try to be objective with Nancy Pelosi, as difficult as that is. So, here's what she said. Our democracy, we're not a democracy, we're a republic, but whatever. Our democracy has no room for inciting violence or endangering the public, no matter the ideology of those who commit such acts. That sounds kind of like what Trump said, right? There's hate on both sides. I wonder if the media will call that out. The violent actions of people calling themselves Antifa, and by the way, she didn't capitalize it. She put it in small case.
Interesting.
That's kind of a slam. Calling themselves Antifa in Berkeley this weekend deserve unequivocal condemnation, and the perpetrator should be arrested and prosecuted. She continues, excuse me, in California, as across all of our great nation, we have a deep reverence for the constitutional right to peaceful dissent and free speech. Nonviolence is fundamental to that right. Let us use this sad event to reaffirm that we must never fight hate with hate. Well, they weren't fighting hate, Nancy. They were at a free speech rally. An anti-Marxism rally. So, of course...
That was organized. Is this the one that was organized by a guy of Japanese descent?
Yes.
Which had 3 black speakers and an Hispanic speaker?
Right. And Antifa tried to call him out as racist. But, it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, the Japanese American is a white supremacist. Got it.
And to remember the values of peace, openness, and justice that represent the best of America. Well, justice could be, locking those Bonaviciches up and throwing them in the slammer for a very long time for disturbing the peace and committing acts of violence against random people that they disagree with. And when they disagree with you, you are labeled as a racist because they can't win arguments. The left cannot win arguments. They cannot articulate what they stand for, so they have to use blood and guts. They have to use force and violence. Because let's just face it, their crap doesn't work. It's never worked. It's never worked in any country anywhere. It doesn't work.
The only thing it's done is help lead to lots of death and starvation.
No. And even the policies that they would argue that work, they're all funded by, greedy capitalists. So none of their stuff works. All right. So that's Nancy Pelosi, which who I guess you got to give her a little bit of credit, right?
Do I?
Speaking of Berkeley, I'm going to skip ahead here just a little bit. The Marxist communist Berkeley mayor.
Wasn't he a member of an Antifa type group on Facebook or something?
Yeah, he was. Of course he was. Jesse, do you know how to say that?
Arreguin?
Arreguin. Are we grinning? What is it? Araguin, something. Marxist.
You must have read my mind.
So this is from the Washington Examiner. Apparently, there's a conservative free speech week that's coming up, and this Marxist wants to cancel it, of course,
because his people got violent. So this is his message: you guys go out there, stir ish up.
Yeah,
create
how about
problems,
arrest
create
people?
havoc, and then you know what? I'll use as an excuse to shut down speech.
Right. How about call off your Marxist goon squad? How about quit telling your police, who would probably love to do their jobs, to stand down and allow your goon squad to attack people that are simply trying to exercise their free speech, First Amendment rights? How about that?
How about that?
He said, quote, this is according to the leftist San Francisco Chronicle, "I don't want Berkeley being used as a punching bag," whatever his name is, told the San Francisco Chronicle. "I am concerned about these groups using large protests to create mayhem." What groups?
Yeah, call him out.
What groups?
Are you going to demand that he name names?
Good Lord. Unfreaking believable. So, this is how the left tries to shut down free speech. They try to intimidate you with violence because they can't win arguments. They're too damn dumb to win an argument. They can't say how it makes sense for government to control, tax, and regulate every single move and thought that you do, because that doesn't sell in a free country. It may sell in North Korea. It may sell in Venezuela. It may sell in communist Cuba, but it doesn't sell here, and people don't want it. So they have to beat you over the head in order to make you submit to them and shut up and quit arguing with them. They can't win arguments.
They know what's best for you.
Yeah, they think they do. So he's a commie. He's an America hater, and he won't stand up and be a man. And of course, if you go to thelibertydaily.com, your conservative alternative to the Drudge Report, the Liberty Daily, you'll see a picture of this absolute loser, with a eat and grin on his face, next to Soviet-style communist Bernie Sanders, which explains pretty much everything you need to know. Yeah, pretty much everything you need to know is he was a Bernie Sanders supporter, and he fits right in at Berkeley. I don't see. We have a constitution in this country. We have a First Amendment in this country. That's not a states' rights issue.
Right.
That covers every state. It covers every city.
Right.
So why isn't he arrested for treason? For telling his cops to back off? For telling his cops not to do their job? For telling the cops don't protect people's free speech, First Amendment rights. I mean, that is the only purpose of government, to protect our rights.
Right.
That's the only purpose.
Yeah, but unfortunately, the left believes that the purpose of government is to run our lives.
Or
tell us what to think, tell us how to think, tell us what to do. You know, just treat you like a servant.
Yeah. So today, President Trump and Melania Trump visited Texas, which has been devastated by Hurricane Harvey, with 50 inches is the latest number I saw. Just historic rainfall. I mean, we talked about this last night, but I still find it's amazing because, I mean, I lived in Seattle for 32 years, and the annual rainfall there's 36 inches a year. And it rains there all the time. It's miserable. It rains daily. Sometimes every day for weeks and months on end. You know, and then summers are absolutely stunningly gorgeous. But, the weather is so miserable. It rains all the time. 36 inches. 50 inches they got in Houston in a matter, and that,
well, not
that
just
era.
Houston
Galveston,
and the surrounding area. I mean, a big, huge surrounding area. And it's not only the rain that fell. Think about the bayous and the reservoirs and the levees when they broke. And there was the controlled floods that there was still a ton of water, and so it didn't do what they wanted to do. But then there were levee breaches where more water, this accumulation of the water that fell went out into these areas that already had 50 inches of water that had fallen to cause even more damage.
That's right. So what did the media focus on today? What was the big hype? Not just in the media, but in social media.
Ridiculous.
It was the First Lady's 5 or 6 inch stilettos that she was wearing
when she was leaving.
Point.
Isn't that when she was leaving the White House?
Yeah.
So she was in Washington, D.C., walking out of the White House, going towards Marine One, wherever they were going. She was in Washington, D.C. It happened to be raining.
Right. This was them
Washington,
departing for Texas.
And she was wearing stilettos. And the ridiculous Trump derangement syndrome suffering media had to focus on that. They used to praise Michelle Obama getting off the plane looking like a hoochie mama, wearing blue jean shorts and a white T-shirt.
Oh my God, you're so racist.
I'm just like, that is not racist. The look of, and praising it as, oh, she's so stylish. She's so stylish. So ridiculous. But they fixate on Melania Trump, who's probably the best dressed first lady since Nancy Reagan.
Right.
Because she is impeccably dressed.
Yeah, she's a former model. I mean, she knows how to dress.
I am sure the reason they decided to do that is because they made people believe that Melania Trump got off Air Force One in Texas wearing stiletto heels to make it seem like she was out of touch. Because, it's raining in D.C., it's raining in Texas, let's do this. It turns out when she got to Texas, she actually had on tennis shoes. But you know what? Who the heck cares what the woman had on? At least the Trumps went to Texas to look at the area. When Texas was being decimated a few years ago by wildfires, Barack Obama ignored it. Barack Obama wouldn't even call it a national disaster.
Right.
When he was invited time and time again to go to the border to see what the effects of his open door policy was having on Texas, he refused to go. But these idiots want to talk about Melania's shoes.
Right. Well, that was leftist unhinged outrage number one. Outrage number two. Just
as ridiculous.
Equally as ridiculous, possibly even more. She stepped off the plane wearing a hat that said FLOTUS on it. And you would have thought she came out of there with, a KKK hat or something.
This is why
she is
media.
The first lady.
Why your approval ratings are lower than Congress.
I mean,
this is why people don't trust you.
This is not like the Daily Cause. This is AP reporting this. Photo: First Lady Melania Trump sports a FLOTUS hat during a briefing on Harvey relief in Texas. How is that news?
It's not.
The FLOTUS wearing a FLOTUS hat. Imagine that. I mean, that's like me wearing a hat that says "good looking." I mean, you
wouldn't need a hat to say that.
You're just calling a spade, right?
These people are actually, they're insane. They're an embarrassment to actual journalism of yesteryear where they actually report the news. But then again, Micah Brzezinski on MSNBC said that it is their job to tell people what to think. So this is it right there.
Right. So this is, hashtag journalism. Jim Treacher, he writes for the Daily Caller. He's a pretty funny guy. He wrote an article about it. I can remember when mocking FLOTUS's clothes was racist. But it's not racist anymore. Why? Because Trump has an R next to his name. And it's not even a hard R. I mean, it's just...
You would think the leftist media, wants to act like they are the protector, the great protector of immigrants. Well, Melania Trump's an immigrant.
Oh, they hate her guts.
But they hate her. She's fair game.
If you're a conservative and an immigrant, they hate your freaking guts.
Hence, or the child of an immigrant.
Because all
Hence
they want...
the way they treat Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio compared to the commie Castro brothers.
And Treacher here has got some of Mucho in some of her less than flattering looks, and the sycophantic media. You know, she addressed, what did you call her? Dressed like a...
Hoochie mama?
I'm letting you say that. You're black. I'm not.
I can say it. I'm black. Eric Holder said it's capable of me being racist.
Oh, my God.
There might have been a time or two that she
did look elegant.
She did look elegant.
There were a lot of times
she literally could put on a potato sack, and the mainstream media would say she's starting a new fashion trend.
Boy, doesn't that gunny sack look good on FLOTUS? I mean, oh, look how elegant that gunny sack looks on her.
No one could wear the potato sack like Michelle.
So much class. We've never seen this kind of class before. They're out of their minds. All right. President Trump, as we said, visited Texas today. I thought his speech was extremely inspirational and really, really spoke out to Texans. Here, let's listen to it. It's short.
The president decided to address the crowd outside. Here's what he had to say there.
I just want to thank your governor, Senator Cruz, Senator Cornyn, everybody, Dan. We want to thank the whole group. This has been a total cooperative effort. Again, we will see you soon. I will tell you, this is historic. It's epic what happened. But you know what? It happened in Texas, and Texas can handle anything. Thank you all, folks. Thank you.
That's right. Now, this is the greatest part. You can't see this, obviously. But he pulls out what looks like a brand spanking new Texas flag, the Lone Star State flag, and he starts waving it around, and the crowd goes wild. And I just thought that was great. You know, everybody knows, even if you don't live there like you used to, Texas has a special culture, a special spirit.
Nothing like it. Nothing like it.
Special state pride. Mm-hmm. You know, Texas has always stood for toughness and rugged individualism. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what Trump meant when he said that, you know, hey, if something like this is going to happen, you know, let it happen in Texas because they can handle it.
Because they come together. There was no
Texas
black,
can handle
there was
anything.
No white, you know, there was no Hispanic, whatever. It was people coming together to see what they could do. And our neighbors to the east of us, and my roots are Louisiana. My parents were both from Louisiana, even though I was raised in Texas. My parents are from Louisiana. Came the Cajun Navy. Bunch of people make the trek down to Texas with their flat-bottom boats to rescue as many people as they possibly could.
How cool
Why?
is that?
Because their friends in Texas were in need. And when I say friends, it's not anyone they knew personally. It was their neighbors to the west, Texas.
Right. Well, and, Houston took in so many people from Hurricane Katrina.
Yeah, Houston. Oh, we did. We took in a ton of people from Hurricane Katrina. I was still there at the time. So, yeah, Texas is resilient. I don't know. I have a friend of mine that said, other places would have come together. I don't know if it would have been to that magnitude. I don't remember New Jersey doing what Texans and Louisianans are doing, when they had their suffering from Superstorm Sandy. I don't know if it would be the same in any other state. There is something special about Texas. I've lived in 3 different states. Something special about Texas.
No doubt about it. I think that is inarguable. But even though everything's big in Texas and everything's great in Texas, not everyone is great in Texas. And so we give you... We're talking specifically...
I will say this. This woman that you're about to introduce, you say everything's bigger in Texas? Her idiocy is big.
In her mouth. So this is Democrat Rep Sheila Jackson Lee.
Isn't she the one? What did she say about the Constitution?
Oh my.
How old did she think it is? I'll look it up.
I think she said it was 500 years old or something. Or the country was 500 years old or something like that. But this is from the Washington Free Beacon. It's so embarrassing. I mean, I can hardly even talk about it. She called... well, let me backtrack. There's all this, trumped up controversy, fake controversy, because certain Republicans from Texas, i.e. Ted Cruz for one, and I think Senator John Cornyn, and I think Congressman Randy Weber, and probably some others, voted against a boondoggle Hurricane Sandy, Superstorm Sandy,
taking a stand for the American people and the people of New Jersey.
Because it was a $50 or $60 billion boondoggle. 2/3 of it was pork. 2/3 of it was pork.
2/3.
2 freaking thirds. That had nothing to do with that. And so Cruz, and others said, wait a minute. Don't be like the Democrats and, never let a crisis go to waste. Don't use this to fund your pet projects. Let's fund true relief, and if you want to do your pet projects, you're going to have to do those in separate bills where the American people can see what you're doing.
Yeah, because that's the dirtiness of Washington, D.C. They take advantage of a tragedy to line the pockets of themselves, their friends, and different things, pork barrel spending to help them get reelected.
And to hose the taxpayers. Because that's what we do. And we read some of these off last night, but I think it bears repeating that in that bill. Now, according to the New York Post, at the time it was $60.4 billion, and it had things in it like $150 million for Alaska fisheries, $41 million for U.S. military bases, including Guantanamo Bay. To Cuba to make the Muslim terrorists more comfortable. This is under the Obama regime, keep in mind. $5.2 million for the Justice Department. $4 million for the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. $3.5 million.
That'll really help the people.
Yeah, that's going to help rebuild things. $3.5 million for Homeland Security. Another $2 million for the Smithsonian Institution in Washington, D.C., which was not affected by the flood. So you had all of this pork that this bill was larded up with. And now they're saying, well, Ted Cruz, you obviously have no heart. You obviously have no soul. And if you're not for all of this pork, $40 or $50 billion out of a $60 billion bill.
You're not a real American.
Yeah. It's just utter, complete nonsense. But that's how the media, forces people, shames people into supporting big government. But this absolute imbecile, Sheila Jackson Lee, she was asked about that. and she repeatedly confuses Sandy Hook, you know, where you had a couple of dozen, wasn't it? Children murdered.
Yes.
In that elementary school called Sandy Hook. She keeps calling Superstorm Sandy Hook.
And then even when she tried to correct herself,
Yeah,
her correction was still wrong.
And she keeps saying it over and over. She's an absolute lunatic. So she's trying to score some political points. She's at one of these places where people are being sheltered. So you'll hear a little noise in the background here, but listen to the idiocy.
As I said, I voted on legislation to help the Sandy Hook victims on many occasions, and therefore...
So there's Alice and
Correcting
Camerado.
her. I got your back. Don't worry, Sheila. Don't worry. Oh, Sheila. You like how I throw my music in there?
It's just great.
I think it throws my husband off. Yeah, Alison Camerata, of course, the good little lefty who revealed her
From
stripes
CNN.
when she left Fox for CNN, has Sheila Jackson Lee's back and is trying to correct her.
Now, let's listen to this buffoon.
And Sandy Super Strong voted on many occasions. As we go forward...
Sandy Super Strong.
You know what? I think she
now
said...
it's not even Superstorm.
Didn't Allison just say Sandy Superstorm?
Yes. And now
Yes.
she's calling it Sandy Super Strong.
She said strong.
Yes. Let me back it up. Let's
Allison, your correction didn't work.
just hear it again.
As I said, I voted on legislation to help the Sandy Hook victims on many occasions, and therefore, and Sandy Super Strong voted on me.
Sandy
Oh
Super Strong.
my gosh.
Now I'm literally watching the transcript from YouTube, and even it picked it up as Sandy Super Strong.
Wow.
Okay, so let's keep going here. She just keeps going down this
River
path.
Many occasions. As we go forward, I am hoping that we will not have the kind of conflicts and the diminishing of monies that the Texans do need. That's what is important. The Sandy Hook vote took many times.
Sandy Hook. She's as dumb as a box. Dumb as a box of rocks.
And my vote was for the maximum amount of money.
Oh, of course, the maximum amount of money. You know why? Because it's not your money. That's why. You don't give a crap.
I can account for those votes.
You're getting your $175,000 a year. You don't give a crap.
And therefore, the important idea is to make sure that you voted when the money was needed. I did that. And I expect for the money to be voted on here in a bipartisan. The Speaker, if the President is here in Texas, I hope he comes here with a message of unity, that he will not shut the government down, and that he will, in fact, be able
Where's
to
that come
provide
from?
that maximum amount of money.
That he won't shut the government. Hold on, I have a question for you, Shishi.
Oh my God, Shishi.
When Barack
You're
Obama
terrible.
toured Texas after the wildfires,
She was happy about that.
Did you go on national television and talk about unity?
She did, to kiss his rear. This is absolutely shameful. Okay, so that's number one, this seemingly drunken fool. But I gotta say, that's not even the worst part of this interview. In the same interview, you know, fat ass Chris Crispy, you know, who's still about 200 pounds overweight after having his stomach stapled, you know, 2-3 years ago, whenever it was. He's been bashing, you know, real conservatives like Cruz, etc., for not funding his Superstorm Sandy boondoggle, and so she's trying to thank Christie for this, except she calls him Governor Crispy, as in Krispy Kreme, which is obviously his favorite dessert. Maybe she's been listening to Mark Levin. Levin calls him Krispy Kreme. So maybe she calls him Governor Crispy. Listen to this. It's unbelievable.
State operations to provide the medical help that is being so effectively given St. Joseph Hospital, all of those resources, we hope to put in an aid package and get the vote going for police, firefighters, the state operations to provide the medical help that is being so effectively given. St. Joseph Hospital, all of those resources.
Oh, here it is.
To put in an aid package. Thank Governor Crispy, and for those who may be.
You hear that?
I still don't understand why she was thanking Governor Crispy.
Because
floods
he's
in
hoping
Texas?
that they fund it, with a big boondoggle, like he
Did
wanted
Chris
to.
Christie weigh in on this?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just said.
I didn't hear you say he weighed in on this.
Yeah, he's weighing in on it.
Okay, why don't you thank your own governor, Shishi?
Well, because he's a Republican. Listen to this.
Who deployed the National Guard?
Listen to this.
Thank Governor Crispy, and for those.
Thank Governor Crispy. Let's hear it again.
Thank Governor Crispy, and for.
Governor Crispy.
I could say something, but I won't.
What?
I won't say it.
Why not?
I just won't say it.
Come on.
No, I'm not going to say it.
Why not?
I'm going to caveat this with the fact that I am black. Okay?
Oh, so that means you get away with saying whatever you want.
I get away with saying this particular thing because I'm black.
Not fair. Hashtag not fair.
When she said that, I was like, is it Specials Day at Frenchie's Fried Chicken? Is that what she's thinking about? Because Wednesday,
oh my God,
you
are so racist.
Chicken at Frenchie's for 99 cents. I'm like, crispy? I wasn't even thinking about Krispy Kreme. I'm like, really? What is she thinking?
Oh my gosh, you're thinking she's thinking crispy fried chicken? Oh my God, that's horrible. So not only, she's prodded, hey Sheila, it's not Sandy Hook, you moron. It's Superstorm
No, she
Sandy.
said it's Sandy Superstorm.
Yeah. Sandy Hook. What is wrong with her?
Maybe, is she getting Botox treatments like Mad Max and Pelosi? Mad Maxine and Pelosi?
Unbelievable. So we had, there's been a lot of tragedies in Houston. One of them was.
Well, actually,
Go ahead.
Yeah, I will lead with that story, but then I will add two more in that you don't realize that I'm going to talk about.
Oh my God, you're going to surprise me.
Yeah, but it's related to H-Town, my hometown. So, the media and the Democrats and people like Black Lives Matter and Antifa have spent a lot of time bashing police officers, bashing first responders. First responders have, sacrificed their lives every single day only to have people like even then President Barack Obama insult them and accuse them all of being rabid racists who are hunting down black people in the streets for gain. That's basically the message that the media and Barack Obama and Democrats and their ilk on the left has sent. Well, just to show you the devotion of first responders to protecting their communities, a Houston police officer spent 2.5 hours trying to find a route to his station to get to work because he knew that they needed his help. He couldn't get to his station, so he knew the next thing was he would go to this other station that was a little bit closer to him and route to trying to get to a police station so that he could help assist in the rescue efforts and everything from Hurricane Harvey. He took a wrong turn and his car filled up with water, accidentally got on a flooded street, and he drowned. And the police chief gave a tear-filled press conference talking about his death. Today, his name... Hold on, my computer's not quite cooperating. I want to tell you his first name. His name was Sergeant Perez. He had been on the force, I believe it said, for over 30 years.
Wow.
He was in the traffic division at the time of his death. But, he was just trying to get into work. He spent 2.5 hours. That's Texas. That's the type of man that Yeah, he was on the force for 34 years. This is who the left and Democrats and Antifa and Black Lives Matter attack with hate-filled vitriolic rage.
Right.
Someone who literally lost his life. He drowned trying to get out to help people. And I seriously doubt that Sergeant Steve Perez would have been selective with what color skin he helped.
Right.
Contrary to what the left would like you to
the
believe.
The pictures there are so inspirational. You know, you see black people helping white people helping black people. Nobody gives a crap.
Nobody.
I mean, very few people give a rat's you-know-what about skin color anymore. And it was that way, and it's still that way, unless you turn on MSNBC and CNBC that are trying to start a race war because their overlord, George Soros, thought it might be a good idea so they can take over the country and try to
and he can
create
make more money.
Yeah, a communist utopia.
So I'll go from that to this story. Now, you know, there's always idiots. There's always people who think that they should be able to get something from nothing. And unfortunately, there are people that, amidst the floods, have started trying to loot places in Houston. Houston police caught 14 armed robbers and looters amid the flood. And the Houston police chief has said, we will not tolerate looters. Not only that, not only will they not tolerate looters, let's see, is it in the story? They
arrested looters.
They arrested looters, but also the consequences for looting during a catastrophic event like this is even greater than a normal time.
I did not know that.
I was reading something, and I thought this was the article I had up.
You can look for that. I've got something we can play here while you're looking.
Okay, I'll look for that, because I want you to hear the consequences for looting right now in Houston.
Okay, I want you to listen here. Here is, I know we're going to lose half of our audience here, but we just have to really understand where these people are coming from. This is fake newser, CNN fake newser Jim Acosta, who by the way, looks like a clown. You know, he had kind of a nice salt and pepper look going on. You know, he's a good-looking guy. But, you know, he's trying to get his own show and everything and trying to look good for the ladies. So he just dyed his hair jet black, and it looks absolutely ridiculous. Trying to cover up his premature gray. But here he is. He's on the phone with Representative Randy Weber. He's a Republican from Texas, from Friendswood. Where's that, honey? Friendswood?
Friendswood is south of Houston, going down I-45 towards Galveston. Okay,
and it was hit extremely hard in all of this. And all shameful, despicable Jim Acosta can do is try to shame him and try to somehow take the moral high ground because Representative Randy Weber, didn't vote for that Sandy boondoggle, which was 2/3 pork. So listen to him try to demoralize him.
And Congressman, we have to ask you this. 4 years ago, you were opposed to federal funding for relief for victims of Superstorm Sandy.
No, he wasn't. He was against pork. Okay, all they had to do was take the pork out, and then he would have voted for it. I know that's difficult, but you got your facts from Pelosi and
George
Soros and Chucky Schemer, and they told you to say that. And you and your other useful idiots in the media keep repeating the same talking points, and it's not funny, it's not cute, and you're just exposing yourselves
and fueling violent commie groups like Antifa.
Yeah.
Why did you oppose that at that time? And do you think it's hypocritical, as some are saying now, for you to be seeking...
As some are saying, my boss, George Soros...
federal assistance for your area. Obviously, the people there need it. Nobody's disputing that.
Oh, so what the deal is...
Thanks for politicizing tragedy, you jerk.
When it was for people in New Jersey, you obviously hate them, you soulless bastard. But now that it's in your own backyard, you're probably going to want all the money in the world, aren't you?
But in hindsight, do you regret opposing that funding for Sandy victims?
I don't like his answer. I think he should have shoved it up his keister, but...
Jim, I was very clear at the time that there was additional measures thrown into that bill.
Two-thirds.
Institute. There was a couple of parks. There was $1 million for some upgrades, different parks and whatnot. So there was actually what I would call pork attached to that bill, which I did not believe belonged on that bill. I had that discussion with leadership at the time.
I didn't care.
They told them, you take that off that bill, I'm good to go.
No, but instead, they kept it in.
Right.
And what we understand, Congressman, from looking into this morning, is that there really wasn't a very much pork at all
Two-thirds?
in that bill. There have been
No. Wrong.
You're a liar.
You're a liar.
You're a liar.
You're an absolute...
I think the hair dye destroyed your brain.
All that black shoe polish. Jim, black shoe polish is toxic to your brain. You don't rub it on your skull.
What little brain you have.
a couple of fact-check reports to come out just today.
Oh, couple of fact-check reports.
Let me guess, from Lefty Snopes?
Yeah, from the leftist George Soros-funded Snopes, or from the Washington Dumb as a Post.
Saying there wasn't really much of any pork in that legislation. There was some additional spending on other items, but it was very small.
That is pork, lame brain.
Fake news. That's why Trump can righteously call them fake news.
You are fake news, Jimmy.
I mean, you've never, even during Bush, which, the media hated Bush, but they weren't this unhinged.
They're
weren't
just insane.
I mean, I didn't think it could get any worse under Bush. And, I'm old enough to be... I was paying attention during Ronald Reagan's years. I mean, they were horrible with him. But this is nothing.
Yeah, this is crazy.
I mean, this is crazy compared to that. Oh.
Just whenever you're done.
With respect to and compared to the vast majority of that funding, which did go to disaster relief.
Liar.
Why do you like pork?
This time
Liar.
That people don't play politics with this sort of thing?
Liar.
Are you saying...
Absolutely.
You know what? He's going to offend the Muslims by loving pork so much.
Are you saying, Jim, that adding any bit of pork in is not playing politics?
But it wasn't a little bit.
I know it wasn't a little bit, but I'm saying, there wasn't much pork. There shouldn't have been any pork, Jimmy.
Look, I've been a proponent from day one, if you looked at my voting record, on omnibuses and continuing resolutions, with one exception, because it lifted the oil embargo of the ban that we had in place in 73. I voted against all of those because I think bills should be standalone, appropriations should be passed on their merit, and not simply joined with something else to make it palatable.
Right. But in a perfect world, obviously...
In a perfect world, we wouldn't have you. In a perfect world, we wouldn't have Democrats. In a perfect world, we wouldn't have porkers like Chris Christie and Peter King and the other pork barrel spinning artists, politicizing tragedy.
Things are going to be thrown into bills that you don't like. In hindsight, though, do you think you should have voted for that Sandy legislation? And
see how he's trying to take
push.
Yeah, he's trying to take the more high ground. Don't you think you've somehow got a soul now, Congressman? Congressman, have you found your heart yet?
Do you maybe have some convincing to do with some of your colleagues, or you're going to have to look some of your colleagues in the face?
Oh, you mean like you, a Democrat?
From up in the Northeast, and say, look, I know I voted against this back then, but I need your help now.
Well, we'll have that discussion. I think most of them are understanding that when you've got someone who votes against something for a particular reason, you may not have to agree with the reason, but I'm pretty easy to get along with. I have good relationships. Joe Kennedy called me yesterday.
So he has to go on and defend himself. This is why Trump won.
You're despicable,
because
Jim.
It not only is Jim despicable, but one of the reasons why Trump won, right or wrong, is people wanted someone that would fight.
Just say the damn truth.
And this Randy Weber, you should just pummel him. Pummel him. It's absolutely despicable
It's
and
absolutely
shameful.
Ridiculous.
What this Jim Acosta?
You know what, Jim Acosta?
Call him a Democrat hack.
15
So who
people-
told you to say that? Nancy Pelosi?
Yeah, 15 people have died. There are people who have lost everything. The city of Houston is covered with an ungodly amount of water, and you want to fixate on your defense of pork. It wasn't that much pork. Shouldn't you have voted for it? Number one, that's
it was a
lie.
lot of pork.
Number two, shame on you. You are a liberal Democrat hack. You're not a news organization. You're an arm of the Democrat Party, period.
Right.
And you are proving it. You guys are proving it. Alison Camerata's on MSNBC.
No, CNN.
Okay, you, Alison Camerata, with her questioning, earlier and helping prodding Sheila Jackson Lee along, are proving it. You're just a wing of the Democrat Party, period. You're their propaganda arm.
That's exactly right. They're no different than Pravda. America Pravda is, that was the Soviet Union propaganda channel back in the day during the Cold War. And, we used to joke when I was a kid, this USSR had two TV stations to choose from. Propaganda channel number 1 and propaganda channel number 2. So, are you ready for your Religion of Peace update? Oh, before we do that, let's...
No, I want to end on a good note. Just do your story.
Oh, okay. So, this is the Religion of Peace update. We have a Detroit Muslim convert who bought a grenade and AK-47s, planned an attack on the United States of America, and is now facing 10 years in prison. His arsenal, if you can believe this, was financed by a Muslim imam. Now, you probably won't hear the Democrats come out wanting to ban AK-47s. Why is that?
You won't hear Democrat because he's a Muslim.
Thank you. That's exactly right. So this is from WorldNet Daily, WND.com. Soldier of Allah faces up to 10 years of arsenal financed by imam. New information has come to light on a Detroit area Muslim convert who was building an arsenal of weapons and ammunition, all funded by a radical imam
But
in
then
Maryland.
again, they might blame the AK-47 because they sure as hell aren't going to blame him as a Muslim.
That's a good point. The Detroit jihadist, 30-year-old Sebastian Gregerson, has been behind bars since last summer and is awaiting sentencing. But the imam who bankrolled his arsenal still walks free. Hello, Jeff Sessions. Gregerson, according to FBI filings in U.S. District Court in Detroit last week, has now been linked to at least one other jihadist, 26-year-old Yusuf Wahili, who was born in Minnesota. Minnesota is a hotbed for Islamic terrorists. To parents who migrated to the U.S., compliments of the United Nations, U.S. State Department Refugee Resettlement Program. Imagine that. So here we have an Islamic terrorist, a Muslim convert, an American citizen that had his brain poisoned by this imam preaching his so-called religion of peace. And you would say?
It's obvious. These people want to act like these imams are just religion of peace
Religion
preachers.
of peace is peaceful.
Obviously,
It's peaceful.
they not only speak about killing the infidels, there's some who actually fund it.
What does this mean? Zakat. Z-A-K-A-T. Can you Google that? What is it? Or Bing it? What does that mean? Imam Bengarsa, Bengharsa, wrote checks of up to $1,300 to Gregerson and wrote, Z-A-K-A-T in the memo line.
Zakat is a form of obligatory almsgiving and religious tax in Islam. It is based on income and the value of one's possessions. It's typically 2.5% of their total income, savings, and wealth above a minimum amount known as nisab.
So he's not contributing to the mosque. The mosque is contributing to him to commit terrorism. How about that? That's
that imam needs to be thrown in prison.
That's not a problem.
And the mosque shut down.
That's not a problem though, because according to George Bush, shamefully, Obama, and I would say Trump guy H.R. McMaster, Islam is the religion of peace, no matter what the results are, no matter what the Quran teaches. Okay, so that is a wrap.
Nope, it's not a wrap.
It's not a wrap.
I have the two stories that I've been waiting to talk about.
Oh, shoot. Go for it.
So, as I said earlier, before we took a break so I could find this one article, Houston police have caught 14 robbers and looters amid the floods. The Houston police, Harris County District Attorney said people displaced or harmed in this storm are not going to be easy prey. And the Houston police chief said he is not, Art Acevedo, said he's not going to tolerate criminals taking advantage of people in the community during such a devastating time. So they said normally burglarizing a home would bring a penalty of 2 to 20 years in prison, but now, under these circumstances, it's 5 years to life. Acevedo said, "This is the state of Texas. We are a welcoming city. We are not going to tolerate people victimizing others." He said he will push for the fullest prosecution of any crimes under the law committed during such a sensitive time. And they said that there is some kind of special Texas law that increases the jail time possibility when people are committing crimes during times like this.
That's good.
So those arrested will face stiffer penalties under a Texas law providing heftier penalties during a crisis.
What kind of scum does that kind of thing?
Right?
Absolutely scummy.
A lefty who thinks that they are owed something for nothing.
Entitled to something.
And the last story I want to lead with, of course, still related to my beloved hometown of Houston, Texas. J.J. Watt, star defensive player for the Texans, originally from Wisconsin, but he has adopted Houston as his home. He is great. He is beloved in the city. He started a You Caring fundraiser for the city of Houston and surrounding areas, and his initial goal was to raise $1 million. He wanted to raise $1 million.
He just started, I believe, a day ago, right?
Yes, started it yesterday. Had a video on his Facebook page. To date, they have raised $4.874 million.
Unbelievable.
So
and you can get that at www.youcaring.com/victims of Hurricane Harvey.
So, the CEO of You Caring actually posted a message in the comments section of his fundraising.
Really?
Saying the response has been surreal due to everyone's overwhelming generosity and the amount of traffic going on the page. You may experience intermittent donation issues. Please bear with us or check back in a few minutes if it's happening to you. The engineering team is working closely with J.J. Watt and the Houston Texans. They're going to all update the site and ensure the funds are used as effectively as possible. And they said they commend them for the incredible initiative. Thank you for your continued generosity to support the people of Houston. Every donation counts. Nearly $5 million.
In one day.
In one day. That's how the people responded. So not only are people taking their boats and their big trucks to go out and try to rescue people they don't know, risking their lives just to hopefully save the life of someone else, they're donating. This is just one organization receiving donations for the people of Houston.
So many.
It's amazing. So again, as Matthew said yesterday and earlier in this broadcast, we are not nearly as divided as hack fake news networks like CNN
and the Democrat Party
want you to believe.
Yep. So let's end here with this verse of the day from verseoftheday.com. Proverbs 14:29. A patient man has great understanding, but a quick-tempered man displays folly. Boy, wouldn't it be good if we all lived by that? Thank you so much for tuning in to the Burke Brigade. If you like what we had to say, share us on social media. The Burke Brigade, brought to you by the Liberty Daily,
your conservative alternative to the Drudge Report.
Visit thelibertydaily.com. Thank you so much for tuning in. God bless you.
God bless America, and God bless Texas.
Texas.
Houston strong, baby.
Texas forever.